Chapter 1: The Humble Horizon. David Hume, a man of the 18th century, walked through the streets of Edinburgh with the keen eyes of a skeptic and the quiet heart of a philosopher. His gift was not so much in the formulation of laws as in the questioning of beliefs, a skill that is the backbone of true wisdom and, consequently, effective leadership. Hume taught that the mind is built on impressions, the raw data that our senses give us, and that all ideas are ultimately derived from those impressions. In other words, our knowledge is provisional and our conclusions forever unsettled. This uncertainty is not a drawback, but a source of humility, a humility that leaders must nurture to keep their vision flexible and honest. Hume himself said, "We are nothing more than a collection of impressions." This simple phrase reminds us that no one has a finished story. Each encounter, each conversation, each failure feeds the ongoing narrative of our leadership journey. Without this understanding, the tendency is to cling to authority, to make decrees without listening, and to trust in a brittle version of knowledge. The lesson for the modern leader is to recognize the limits of one's own insight and to remain in perpetual learning mode. Through his essays on the human understanding, Hume illustrated that reason alone cannot give us moral direction. Ideas are but a light that follows each other in their natural succession. Meaning, the chain of reasoning depends on the chain of feelings and habits of society. A wise leader must therefore balance reason with empathy, knowing that people are not merely rational beings, but are guided by emotions and social bonds. When a leader keeps this balance, decision-making becomes less about claiming authority and more about fostering collaboration, which in turn yields sustainable growth. To apply these ideas today, start each day with a humble audit of your own beliefs. Keep a journal of moments when you felt uncertain and ask, what impressions led me to that conclusion? Share this practice with your team, encouraging them to challenge their own assumptions. Create a culture where questions are valued over answers and where listening is a leadership tool, not a weakness. By doing so, you build trust, nurture innovation, and avoid the pitfalls of dogmatic control. If you are enjoying this, like, share, and subscribe, follow for more wisdom and leadership. Reflective question: what are the 1 or 2 convictions you hold that you should examine with fresh impressions tomorrow? Chapter 2: The Empathy Engine. Hume's insights about the role of sentiment cannot be overlooked in the discussion of leadership. For him, moral judgment arises from feelings rather than pure logic. He famously remarked, "What we call moral principles are merely a product of sentiment." For a leader, this means that the moral compass is anchored not in abstract ideals, but in the collective feelings of the team and the community. One of the most illustrative stories comes from Hume's analysis of historical kings and generals. He noted that the most stable rule was not enforced by fear alone, but by earning the goodwill of the people through just actions. The empire of kindness, he described, operates on empathy, an engine that turns understanding into action. Applying this engine today is straightforward. When you face a difficult decision, pause and step into your team's shoes. Ask what they are feeling about the situation. What fears or hopes might they harbor? This empathic step turns a top-down directive into a shared journey, a form of leadership that invites participation rather than passive compliance. Hume also warned against the moral vanity that can arise when leaders elevate themselves because of their perceived wisdom. He wrote, "The greatest dangers to human liberty come from the pride of men." A humble leader resists the temptation to see their own choices as ultimate, acknowledging that wisdom grows through dialogue. Therefore, create open forums where criticism is welcomed and practice thanking contributions, no matter how small. To embed empathy into your daily routine, schedule a brief pulse check each morning of your team. Ask, "How are you feeling and how can I support you today?" Use active listening techniques, repeat what you heard, confirm understanding, and respond with genuine care. Measure success not just in metrics, but in the sense of belonging and trust that your team feels. Over time, this will develop a resilient culture that thrives on collective wisdom rather than individual dominance. If you are enjoying this, like, share, and subscribe, follow for more wisdom and leadership. Reflective question: how will you adjust your next meeting to prioritize genuine empathy and listening? Chapter 3: Prudence as Momentum. Hume's view on the pragmatic side of leadership is inseparable from the concept of prudence. He insisted that while reason can map possibilities, prudence is the virtue that navigates the path through uncertainty. In his essay on the principles of human nature, Hume stated, "The ability to hold an idea in one's mind without acting is a sign of prudence. Prudence is the engine that keeps a leader's momentum balanced between ambition and caution." Historical examples cited by Hume illustrate prudence's power. He compared the rise of the great republics to careful stewardship. The better the governance, the more slowly they accumulate power. A leader who rushes for quick gains often collapses under the weight of mistakes. Hume's lesson is clear: measured progress beats frantic ambition. In practice, a leader can harness prudence by adopting a two-step decision model. First, gather all relevant data and hear all voices in the room. Second, delay the final decision for a prescribed period, for a day, a week, or longer, depending on the magnitude. This pause forces the mind to consider consequences and mitigates knee-jerk reactions. Pair this with a risk assessment matrix, weighing potential outcomes against the likelihood of each. Through this method, you maintain momentum without sacrificing thoughtful stewardship. Prudence also demands the humility to admit unknowledge. Hume argued, "There is no real knowledge except that we have the desire for it." Owning your ignorance allows you to seek counsel, diversify your viewpoints, and avoid the echo chamber that can turn brilliant ideas into blind spots. In your daily communication, highlight gaps in understanding. "I'm not sure how we can approach X. Let's bring in Y to help us." By signaling your openness, you encourage a culture where prudence is valued over dogmatic certainty. If you are enjoying this, like, share, and subscribe, follow for more wisdom and leadership. Reflective question: when was the last time you postponed a decision to allow prudence to guide you? Chapter 4, Habits of the Wise. A recurring theme in Hume's work is the formation of habits as the backbone of human conduct. He observed that the world is governed by custom and habit, and that these patterns shape both personal and collective outcomes. For a leader, mastering habits is not about rigid routines, but about mindful creation of practices that reinforce wisdom. Hume illustrated this with the example of financial prudence. He noted that the habit of saving, though small at first, builds a reservoir that can weather future uncertainties. This practice, simple yet powerful, extends to leadership habits such as daily reflection, consistent delegation, and routine check-ins. Each habit, once ingrained, requires less conscious effort and more steady influence. To develop the habits of wisdom, start with a clear intention. Choose one simple practice that aligns with your leadership goals. It could be listen first before speaking, review one decision and its outcome every morning, or ask for feedback at the end of each project. Write it down, put visible reminders on your computer or phone, and commit to act every day. As Hume reminded us, habits grow from repetition. After a month, the practice will feel natural, freeing mental bandwidth for strategic thinking. Another powerful habit he advocated was the practice of mental empathy, an exercise where leaders visualize the perspectives of their stakeholders. Set a weekly agenda slot for this. Take 10 minutes, close your eyes, and imagine your employee, client, or competitor's thoughts about a current issue. The insight you gain strengthens decision quality and fosters inclusive leadership. Finally, remember that habits are dynamic. If a habit no longer serves your vision, refine or replace it. This iterative approach keeps your leadership aligned with evolving wisdom, reflecting Hume's belief in the constant evolution of knowledge. If you are enjoying this, like, share, and subscribe, follow for more wisdom and leadership. Reflective question: what single habit can you formalize today to align your leadership with wisdom? Chapter 5,